Get your ears wrapped around the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. All the scoop you need to know from college basketball to the NBA and even March Madness. News of your rising stars. Topics on and off the hardwood. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. As you guys know, I'm your host, Casuan Caudle, and I am so grateful to be here with you guys discussing this wonderful, beautiful game of basketball. Guys, it is that time of year in the NBA. Playoff season has come to us once again. Oh, man, this is the best time of year. Meaningful basketball. Some would say this is the only meaningful basketball we get all year. I would disagree. I think the regular season is extremely important. You play every game for this moment right here. So you need those regular season games. They're a precursor and is a good indicator of how teams are going to perform well. So shame on you to people that say the regular season does not matter. But, guys, in all seriousness, the play-in tournament specifically has started as of last night. Started with the Eastern Conference play-in tournament games with the Indiana Pacers matched up against the Charlotte Hornets. That was the 9 and 10 matchup to go along with the 7 and 8 seed matchup with the Washington Wizards going up against the Boston Celtics. Guys, we will be discussing that and analyzing that, but we also have a lot more to talk about as well. We're going to be talking about the Western Conference play-in tournament. Those games are tonight, and it's going to be between the San Antonio Spurs and the Memphis Grizzlies. That's the 9-10 matchup, and the Golden State Warriors and the Los Angeles Lakers. That's the 7-8 seed matchup. And we also will be talking about the WNBA has finally returned. The WNBA season started last night. And we're just going to recap a couple of games from the WNBA, talk about some things I saw, things I noticed, the revamped, I guess the entire association as a whole appears revamped, talking about the WNBA. I'm just going to talk about some things that I saw, I observed, I noticed, and that I liked from last night in a few of those games. And we're going to be talking about the recent Hall of Fame class, Class 21, and their induction ceremony, how they honor Kobe Bryant. Tim Duncan was in the class. Kevin Garnett was in the class. Chris Webber was in the class. And was this the best Hall of Fame class of all time? I'm going to be discussing that later in the show. But to start out our show today, we are going to be recapping the Eastern Conference play-in tournament games from last night. Start out with the Charlotte Hornets going up against the Indiana Pacers. And there was, quite frankly, guys, no defense in this game. I mean, the score is 144 to 117. And so I want to talk about something I said previously, about 2 months ago now, when I talked about whether LaMelo Ball should return after hurting his wrist. And I said that the Charlotte will be in this position that they're in right now, and there's no need for him to come back if they're the best they can do is the 8th seed and lose in the first round. Why risk his injury? And obviously he played. He returned earlier than I expected at least. But to the point, so during this game, he had 14 points and 4 assists. Shot 4-14 from the field, played 27 minutes, had a plus minus of -35. But the reason I was saying they shouldn't bring him back is because why risk the injury? And some people would argue that, well, he needs the experience. He needs this playoff experience to grow as a professional. But people forget, LaMelo's been a professional for the past 4 or 5 years. Few of those leagues in one of the top leagues in the world, in the Australian league. So what more experience do you need? But moving forward, though, I still think that LaMelo Ball should shut out the rest of this year. But obviously, still good to see him play. He's continuing to grow. But I actually had Indiana winning. I had slated Indiana to win this game. With not by a smaller margin, but by a smaller scoring total. I initially had Indiana win this game by a score of 110-97, because Indiana, for the better half of this year, has been one of the better defensive teams in the league. But it appears that they left the D at home and decided to just score. But I do want to stick back. Let's just stick with Charlotte for right now. So Miles Bridges finished with 23 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. PJ Washington finished with 8 points, 7 rebounds, and an assist. Terry Rozier finished with 16 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. Shot 0-9 from the 3-point line. Cody Zeller finished with 17 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists coming off the bench. Malik Monk finished with 13 points, 2 assists and a rebound in 19 minutes. Devontae Graham only had 4 points and 4 assists and 2 rebounds in 20 minutes, and he shot 1 of 7 from the 3-point line. Both of those guys coming off the bench. They shot 30% from the 3-point line, 76% from the free throw line. And let's look at how many turnovers they had. They had 14 turnovers, 32 fast break points. You're going to see that in high scoring games, of course. But I want to talk about what I saw. So I saw Indiana's playoff experience show in this game, and I saw Charlotte's lack thereof. Now, normally in the best of 7 series, you'll see the pace start to slow down, and you'll see teams start to have to play in their half-court sets. And it's more physical, playoff basketball is. And it looked as if Indiana was just a far superior team physically as opposed to Charlotte. Now, Charlotte was never much of a defensive team this entire year, and it showed as well in this game. Now, what's this next step for Charlotte moving forward? So, they're 9 seed. There won't necessarily be a lottery pick, depending on how things go. But it just shows that Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player of all time, doesn't have the best eye for seeing talent. I mean, he did an excellent job of choosing LaMelo Ball, yes. But this team has been stuck in that middle ground area. But this is the most upside I've seen out of Charlotte in a long time. And they're one piece away from being a 4 or 5 seed and contending in the East. And what they have on their side is youth. They're young. Their core is young. Miles Bridges in his 3rd year. Melo Ball's a rookie. Devontae Graham is in his 3rd year. Biombo is a veteran, a younger veteran. They still have Malik Monk. They're one piece away. The core is young, but I think they need one more veteran, another veteran to really show the guys in that locker room what it takes to win consistently as a contender. But it showed. So Indiana's experience showed in this playing game. Let's look at Indiana. So Michael Brogdon has 16 points, 8 assists, shot 3-5 from the 3-point line. Doug McDermott, 21 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 4-6 from the 3-point line. The Holiday brother, 12 points, 5 assists, 2 rebounds. Sabonis, 14 points, 20 rebounds, 9 assists. Sabonis might be one of the most underrated, if not the most underrated big man in the league. I mean, the guy, people forget he had a 30-20 game when they played Washington this year, earlier. The same game, I think, where Russell Westbrook tied Oscar Robertson's triple-double mark. But to digress, Sabonis is one of the most underrated big men, or just the overall players, one of the most underrated players in this league. But because he plays in a small market in Indiana, a lot of people don't know who he is. But his footwork is incredible, and his ability to stretch the floor is big. He's the perfect modern day big. I mean, okay, so let's think about the bigs right now. So we got Joel Embiid. We got the Joker. Karl Anthony Towns. Anthony Davis is in a 5. So if you ask me, I'm taking Sabonis over Karl Anthony Towns, and we can talk about that. We can have a full discussion about that. But I'm taking Sabonis over Karl Anthony Towns. But sorry to digress. McConnell coming off the bench for Indiana had 17 points, 4 steals, 3 rebounds, 5 assists. Big man, coming off the bench, had 14 points, 10 rebounds, double-double. So the size as well of Indiana gave Charlotte some trouble. So, look, Indiana shot 45% from the 3-point line, 80% from the free throw line. They had 35 assists. The ball movement was impeccable. Obviously, they scored 144 points, but look, they created 14 turnovers, and they had 25 fast break points, 74 points in the paint, which shows you that they're getting easy baskets by attacking the lane and fitting inside. When they come off those ball screens, the big pops out, but the other big is flashing to the mid post, and they're getting it down there on the weak side, and now they're working that one-on-one game with Sabonis or Big Days or whatever big man is working down there. So we see that Indiana gets a lot of penetration as well with their bigs, and that allows for penetration and kicks, which leads to easy scoring opportunities from the 3-point line, which is what we saw. So it's going to be nice to see Indiana match up with the Washington Wizards, who they're going to be playing in the next game, the last round of the play-in tournament. But speaking of Washington, let's go to this our other Eastern Conference play-in tournament game. The Washington Wizards going up against the Boston Celtics. Boston won this game by a score of 118-100, and the game got out of pocket pretty quickly. Got a little out of hand, but Washington came back, and it was only a 2-point game at halftime. Actually, the score is 52-54, which is pretty low scoring by modern NBA standards today. But Bradley Beal had 22 points to go with 9 rebounds, 6 assists. He shot 1 of 6 from the 3-point line. Russell Westbrook had 20 points, 14 rebounds, 5 assists. He shot 0 for 4 from the three-point line. Rui Hachimura had 8 points and 2 rebounds. Bertans had 4 points, shot 0 of 7 from the three-point line. Ish Smith had 17 points, 6 of 8 from the field. Alex Gill, 2 points. Alex Len, 5 rebounds, 4 rebounds. 5 points, 4 rebounds, sorry. 2 of 8 from the field. So, Washington shot 14% from the three-point line and 43% from the field. And as we know, Washington had the highest rated offensive efficiency, our pace. So they were one of the quicker teams in the league, and they were one of the highest scoring teams in the league. They had the second highest scorer in the league in Bradley Beal on their team as well. As we know, Washington likes to shoot the three ball a lot. They like to get early actions. They like to shoot the first shot they get, which allows them more scoring opportunities. And they shot 14% from the field, from the three-point line. I mean, how often is that going to ever happen? And if you shoot 14% from the three-point line, you're more than likely gonna lose. Couple that with Washington, though they did turn up their defensive intensity during the last quarter of the season, they were atrocious in the other part of the season. And they gave 118 points to the Boston Celtics today, in Boston. So looking at Boston, Kemba Walker returned, had 29 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. Evan Fournier had 8 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. Marcus Smart, 7 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. Just fill the stat sheet up in all aspects. Ojale did not play the best game. Tristan Thompson had 12 points and 12 rebounds coming off the bench. Carson Edwards had 2 points coming off the bench. Not much productivity from Boston's bench in this game. But the big thing that stood out, obviously, was Jason Tatum scoring 50 points to go along 4 assists and 8 rebounds and shooting 17-17 from the free throw line. Obviously, all of this is done without Jaylen Brown, who is out with a wrist injury. But guys, as you guys know, I said earlier about 3 weeks ago that Bradley Stevens, this should be his last year in Boston, and I still believe that because they are the 7th seed, and they're going to more than likely lose in 4 or 5 games to the Brooklyn Nets. So we saw what could have been. And I'm not saying blow up this roster, not by any stretch of the imagination, because this is a talented roster. They just need a new voice, and I still believe that. How often is Washington going to shoot 14% from the three-point line? Yes, you live and die by 3, but that's not going to happen again. And going into this next game with Washington and Indiana, I believe that Washington will win that game. I just think that Washington is the most potent offensive team out of these 4 teams in the play-in tournament. They're much more fluid. They have more height as well, as opposed to Charlotte. And Washington is 3-0 against Indiana on the season. I think that is going to be a factor as well, a good indicator of how they match up well against Indiana. And Bertans isn't going to shoot over 7 from the three-point line again. Beal's going to be more efficient. He shot 10 and 25. And Hachimura only had 8 points. This was as bad as Washington could have played against Boston. This is as bad as they could have played. So I do think that they will bounce back. I don't think that, though Indiana is one of the better defensive teams in the league, I don't think they can keep up with the pace due to their size with Washington. So I have Washington beating Indiana in the next playing tournament or next playing game by a score of 115 to 101. And that's my prediction for them. But that's the East playing tournament. That's my prediction. And the recap, guys. In the next segment, we're going to be talking about the Western Conference playing games. And what are my predictions going to be for those 4 games? And what do I expect? We're also going to be talking about some WNBA recap from the other night. Sabrina Ionescu, Kelsey Plum, great stars in the league returning to action. In the Hall of Fame class of 2021, is this the greatest Hall of Fame class of all time? A lot of questions. I got a lot of answers for you guys. So stick around. This is not something you're going to want to miss.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Everybody, welcome back. Thank you for sticking with us during the break. Oh, man, guys. I just love this time of year. This is playoff basketball, NBA playoff basketball at its finest. For those of you who weren't with us during the first segment, we talked about the Eastern Conference play-in tournament. We recap the first few games between the Wizards and the Celtics, to go along with the Pacers and the Hornets. We just talked about the poor performances Charlotte put up, but yet they still have a lot of room for growth because just of their youth, and they're moving forward in the right direction. They couldn't match up well with the size of Indiana. We talked about how Washington didn't shoot the ball well against Boston. But I do see Washington beating Indiana tomorrow night. And then we also talked about Boston Celtics and Jason Tatum, how he scored 50 points. But I don't see them winning a game against the Brooklyn Nets. And I think this is Brad Stevens. I know Boston Celtics got a lot of injuries, but I think this is Brad Stevens' last year in Boston, or at least it should be. Because even with the injuries, or even without the injuries, it appears that they were tuning out Brad Stevens, in the huddles and games. Again, they still respect him as a coach, but his words are falling on deaf ears. But in this segment right here, let's talk about the Western Conference play-in tournaments, the games. In the first matchup, we have the San Antonio Spurs going against the Memphis Grizzlies. This is the 9-10 matchup. This game will be played in Memphis. So Memphis actually underperformed this year. In my preseason prediction, I had Memphis as a top 8 seed, but they fell down to the 9 seed. But so between this match right here, I think that this is a time where the Spurs may need to look to begin rebuilding completely if they lose this game. Well, regardless of what happens, actually. And I say that because San Antonio is at this point now where same problem that Charlotte Hornets had for a couple of years, where they're in this kind of middle ground, no man's land. They're not necessarily a lottery team. They're not quite a playoff team, so they fall into the middle ground. So they end up picking like 14th and 15th pick in the first round. So not to say there's not talent in the draft at that spot, but the talent isn't commensurate to what you'll be getting in the lottery, right? So now the time may be for San Antonio to begin, getting rid of their veteran players and completely starting all in with the youth movement. Getting rid of DeMar DeRozan and Rudy Gay and even Patty Mills, and just sticking with with DeJounte Murray, Lonnie Walker, and Kenny Johnson. That seems to be the core of right now for the Spurs. Sorry, those three guys, very talented, all of them. But I think that's the direction the Spurs need to go to. We've seen the evolution of the Spurs from Tim Duncan to Kawhi Leonard, now to DeJounte Murray. I think this is just the natural evolution of all teams. This is how teams evolve. Spurs have managed to stay relevant and quite frankly competitive throughout the entire century. I think now is the time for them to completely go all in with the youth movement and move forward from there. And like I said, regardless of what happens in this playing tournament game tonight or tomorrow night. But going against the Grizzlies, like I said, the Grizzlies did underperform, but I do see them, just their youth and their athleticism, and what Memphis does a good job of is attacking from the wing. So when they attack from the wing off their handoff actions, it creates a lot of disconnection, or it creates a lot of franticism on the defensive end. And Memphis does a good job. The guards do, at least. John Murray and Devin Brooks and Josh Jackson. They all do a good job of attacking from the wing. And creating that penetration. And not only just dumping down to the bigs or creating out to the open shot, but also just getting to the rim completely. And they've got a lot of scorers from the wing. I think that athleticism is going to help them out as well. But they're long too. Something you notice is that, especially against the Spurs struggle against teams that have length, especially on the wings, not just in the post. And the Memphis guards, I don't know if you want to call them guards. I mean, they're just big guards. They're long. They're very long, and they're athletic, and they play well defensively as well. For a young team, it's very impressive. And San Antonio has struggled against teams that rotate well in the help side. And that's what Memphis does a good job of. You don't know skip passes. Memphis does a good job of rotating, so taking away the one more pass and also taking away the shot that you would normally get off of a rotation from a skip pass or from a penetration and kick, because they're moving. They're moving the help side, so they're closing out quick and picking up each other's man. So Memphis has done good defensively. And the Spurs have struggled quite often shooting from the 3-point line, which bodes well for Memphis also. So in this game, I do see Memphis winning this game. Just off the experience, though, of the Spurs and Greg Popovich. I do see this game being close. I have Memphis winning this game by a score of 110 to 105. Yeah, 110 to 105. So I do see Memphis advancing to play the loser of our next Western Conference playing game, the Lakers and the Warriors. Now, this seems to be the game that everyone's talking about and everyone wants to watch. It's going to be the most exciting, apparently. Guys, if I can be a little frank with you, I don't see this game being close at all. So I heard a quote from Frank Vogel the other day that said that LeBron James was a full participant in practice, which tells me you're 100%, or at least 85 to 90. So if LeBron James is 85 to 90%, close to 100%, Anthony Davis is, I'm assuming, is close to that same percentage as well. Like I said earlier, and for the past month and a half, I don't see anyone in the play-in tournament beating the Lakers, and I don't see Phoenix or Utah beating. Well, Phoenix. I don't see Phoenix beating the Lakers if LeBron James and AD are healthy. Same thing goes for Golden State. I don't see this game being close at all. There's another quote that said that they referred to Steph Curry as like the head of a snake, right? Well, how can a snake be productive if they only have a head and no body? How can a snake be productive if they have a head, no body? No body. The Golden State Warriors have no one else besides Steph Curry that can create a consistent shot for themselves. You could say Andrew Wiggins, possibly. But if LeBron James is guarding him or Caldwell Pope is guarding him, two good defenders, I think both of their sides, I think they can neutralize Andrew Wiggins. So I don't think that Steph Curry alone will be enough. And if I'm a coach, if I'm Vogel, I'm completely taking away Steph Curry. And that means we have to switch every ball screen, every cut where he's on. Or if I'm double teaming every ball screen, it doesn't matter. I'm keeping the ball out of his hands. That means if Draymond Green goes for 45 or Andrew Wiggins goes for 50, fine. That's how they beat us. But you're not gonna let Steph Curry beat you. Someone else has to do it. Someone else has to beat you, but not Steph Curry. You can't let Steph Curry beat you. He's the hottest player in the NBA for the past month and a half. He's perhaps on his greatest shooting streak of his career since April, the past month and a half. So you can let Andrew Wiggins beat you. You can let Draymond Green beat you. You can let Kent Bazemore beat you. Kelly Oubre beat you, but not Steph Curry. Not Steph Curry. You cannot let Steph Curry beat you. No. Because what happens is when you see something like that occur, when you see someone like Steph Curry shooting well, it becomes infectious on the entire team. So everyone becomes confident now shooting the rock, and now everyone else thinks when they shoot it's going in. And that confidence can really spark a team, not just on the offensive end, but on the defensive end as well. And so it has a total effect on the entire game. So you can let the other guys beat you, but not Steph Curry. You cannot allow Steph Curry to beat you. But I think the size of the Lakers is what's really going to disrupt Golden State. You know, obviously with Anthony Davis and his name slipped my mind. Andre Drummond. The bigs, Marcus Gasol. I think the size is going to be disruptive for for Golden State, who likes to play small ball as it is. And I think with the Lakers were smart. They'll put LeBron in the low post as well and allow him not to be not allow him not to work as much from the wing. If he's not 100%, so he's 85, but allow him to work from the low post. It's easier for him down there. Catches the ball close to the basket. So now he gets to just turn around, back, dribble, don't fade. We don't go into the contact, finish above everybody else. So I see the size for the Lakers of being disruptive for Golden State. But like I said, I don't see this game being very close. I have the Lakers winning this game by a score of 107 to 93. 107 to 93. So I see Lakers moving on to play the Phoenix Suns in the first round of the Western Conference playoffs. So that leaves the Golden State and the Memphis Grizzlies. Now this is an interesting game. And some people, a lot of people are going to choose Golden State in this matchup, but I'm going with Memphis on this one. But same thing, I think Memphis is going to have the same strategy that the Lakers have. We're taking with Steph Curry. And obviously that's easier said than done. But I think that the athleticism on the wings for Memphis and their ability to get out is going to be disruptive for Golden State. Both of these teams like to play small, but I think there's more people that create their shot on Memphis as opposed to Golden State. But I think Draymond Green will be a catalyst for Golden State in this game. I think he will get a triple-double, but I don't think it will be enough. I think Devin Brooks will score at least 30 points in the match against Golden State. So I have Memphis actually beating Golden State by a score of 108 to 103. So I do think this game will be close, and I have Memphis going on out of the play-in tournament to match up with the Utah Jazz in the first round, which might be an interesting matchup. Who knows? But those are my predictions for the Western Conference play-in tournament. We will see how those go. But it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting basketball to watch regardless of who you're rooting for, what you want to see. It's going to be good to watch. But, guys, we have more basketball to recap. This time, WNBA action. Sabrina Ionescu. Is she the best player in the league? The return of Kelsey Plum, one of the greatest scorers in college basketball history, now continuing to play in the WNBA, continuing to show her skill set. The Las Vegas Aces, are they the real deal? Guys, we have Brianna Stewart, who has returned as well. Is she the best player in the league? Guys, we got so much to talk about in this next segment, so just stick around, man. There's going to be a lot that you don't want to miss. We'll be back soon.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Everybody, welcome back. Thank you for sticking with us once again, guys. Let me just take a break from the show and just give a friendly PSA that I know we talk about a lot, putting yourself in a positive and a calming state of mind for your self-care and for your personal health. But I do need to say this as well, that in order to expand as an individual, we need to get out of our comfort zone. So comfort is the enemy of the great. And what I mean by that is that in order to achieve the goals that you want to achieve and to get to the places that you need to get to in life, you have to get uncomfortable and you have to expand yourself, right? And if we're constantly in a comfortable state, and then we're never expanding ourselves and we're never forcing ourselves to grow, and so we're not learning about new opportunities, new concepts. We're not learning things that we didn't even know. And so, it's a cliche, but you don't know what you don't know, right? So we have to be okay with expanding ourselves. And we have to be okay with finding ways to challenge our personal growth, right? But there is a balance. There's a balance between that and taking care of our mental health and making sure we are in a positive state of mind. But we have to get out of our comfort zones. We have to grow. We have to experience challenges. We have to do things that we never thought we could. And that's how you experience true growth. But with that being said, we can get back to the show, guys. So if you weren't with us for the first two segments, we recapped the Eastern Conference play-in tournament. In the first segment, we just recapped the first two games between the Charlotte Hornets and the Indiana Pacers to go along with the Washington Wizards and the Boston Celtics. And we just talked about how Charlotte played poorly, but how they are primed to move forward in the right direction in terms of a franchise with their youth. We talked about Indiana and how the size disrupted Charlotte, but they won't match up well against Washington. I think Washington will win the second play-in game after losing to Boston in the first one. And in the second segment, we talked about the Western Conference play-in tournaments. I just gave you my full predictions for those, talked about why I see Memphis beating the Spurs and why I see the Lakers beating Golden State, followed by why I see Memphis beating Golden State in a surprising pick. But guys, we have a lot more to talk about in this third segment. But before we get started, stick around for the fourth segment to hear me talk about whether I feel the 2021 Hall of Fame class is the greatest Hall of Fame class of all time for the NBA. But with that being said, let's get into some WNBA action. Right? Okay. So, I first want to get into this by talking about a player that some feel is the best player in the league right now, or at least the second best player in the league, in Sabrina Ionescu. So let's just recap this Liberty and Lynx game. So Liberty won by a score of 86-75. Game was in New York, but it was the first game of the season. And Sabrina Ionescu had 26 points, 12 assists, and 10 rebounds. Shooting 8 of 9 from the free throw line, 4 of 7 from the 3-point line, and 7 of 16 from the field with a plus minus of 11. Do I feel Sabrina Ionescu is the best player in the league? Not at this moment, but she's one of the best guards in the league. I can't even call her a point guard. She's just a guard. She's a combo guard that has the size of a 2, but the playmaking abilities of a 1. And what makes her efficient or so good is her patience coming off of ball screens. She's able to read everything because she does a good job of coming tight. Well, even before coming off the ball screen, she does a good job of angling herself. So as pro players, we're taught if the ball screen is coming on our right side, we want to work our man to the left. So dribble down to the left side and then angle ourselves coming off that ball screen. Because we work opposite before the screen. Now we have a better angle when we come off that ball screen. So now coming out that ball screen, she has a better angle, but she's so patient because she has the ability to keep that defender on her hip. And once you get the defender on your hip, the defender is completely blocked out of the play. It's now become a 5-on-4 with advantage. So she's reading to see where not where the screeners help or where the screeners defenders at, but no, she's looking at the help side. Sorry for basketball terminology. She's looking at the low eye and looking to see where that help is shifting towards. So it's shifting ball side, then she's kicking it weak side to the corner. It's a shifting weak side. She's attacking the paint for the open basket, and then if they collapse, then the dump down is there to the roll or the overhead to the pop woman that just popped out the screener. And so she's reading all of that. So whatever read the defense gives her, she's taking. And if they try to counter, that she has a counter for that. So whatever, the defense is always wrong in that situation. And so that's what makes her playmaking ability so good, is her patience coming off those ball screens. So I was watching her play yesterday, and that's what stood out to me. And obviously, her efficiency, 7-16. She doesn't take very many bad shots. It's always in her spot, getting to the mid-range, to the elbow, or getting over to the paint. And she's very strong getting to the paint. She's always drawing contact. So I was very impressed watching her play. I didn't see much of her in college, but obviously she had a lot of hype surrounding her name when she came into the league. But being able to watch her now, I can see why she was so highly touted. But I love her pacing. She's an amazing guard. But she led the Liberties to the win against the Minnesota Lynx, who were led by Caitlin McBride, the former Notre Dame star, former Las Vegas Aces star, and Sylvia Fowles. Caitlin McBride has 16 points and 2 rebounds and an assist. But she only shot 1-6 from the 3-point line and 5-12 from the field. So it wasn't her best shooting night. She had a plus-minus of -12. And Sylvia Fowles had 26 points, 11 rebounds, and an assist. But she had a plus-minus -6. Actually, the Lynx only shot 13% from the 3-point line. I don't know how often that's going to happen as well. That won't happen too much. Ashley Powers had 5 points. Like I said, over 3 from 3-point line. Yeah, that's just not going to happen often for Minnesota. But this will be good. A good wake up call for Minnesota, who who just recently lost Simone Augustus. Sorry, not Simone Augustus. Simone Augustus most recently played with the Sparks. Apologies, but New York, the Liberty are on the rise, so it'll be interesting to see how well they fare this year. But one thing I know is there's been a lot of shifting in the WNBA in terms of power dynamics for teams. The teams that we used to think of as being extremely talented are not are not that anymore. But just like the teams that we saw as not talented or not that anymore, they're becoming talented. But another game that I saw was between the Phoenix Mercury and the Washington Mystics. This game was not close. It's played in Washington. Kia Nurse of Phoenix had 12 points, shot 3-7 from the three-point line, 4-8 from the field. UConn star Skylar Diggins had finished with 10 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, only shot 2 of 6 in the field. Dan Taurasi finished with 17, 6-9 from the field. Brittany Griner finished with 14, 5 of 13 from the field. But Bria Hartley did not play because she has a right knee injury. This Phoenix team is very talented and very deep at the guard spot. I mean, talk about Kia Nurse and Skylar Diggins and Bria Hartley and Dan Taurasi. I mean, those are 4 guards that are starters on any other team that they're playing for in the WNBA. And Kia Nurse was just in New York. I mean, so these are all great guards. You can make the argument that Phoenix is probably the best team in the WNBA right now. So they have a very talented and deep backcourt. This team likes to get up and down, but you see that the balance in scoring. So, no one scored over 20 points, but there are 6 players in double figures. So that shows that it's a balanced scoring, fluidity within the offense, within motion of the offense. And that's what you like to see. So Phoenix will be a very good team, very talented team, very efficient team, moving forward deeper into the season. While the Mystics were led by Ashley Atkins, who finished with 12 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. Natalie Cloud, finished with 18 points, 7-12 from the field, 2 assists and a rebound. And Tina Charles, 22 points, 12 rebounds, and 3 assists. The Mystics only shot 17% from the three-point line. Another poor shooting performance. But Della Dawn didn't play, which Della Dawn's one of the best players in the league. She had tightness in her back. So that game will probably be closer the next time they play, or when Washington plays, just because, as you guys know, Della Dawn's one of the best players in the league and most recently led Washington to a championship back in 2019. So that's another game that I noticed. That was the backcourt, the talent in the backcourt for Phoenix, man, just really stood out to me. But in the other game I watched between the Las Vegas Aces and the Seattle Storm, the Las Vegas Aces won this game by a score of 96-80. This team is very talented as well. I mean, they have Liz Cambage, who finished with 18 points. Asia Wilson finished with 18 points. That might be the best front court in the WNBA. Chelsea Gray finished 11 points, 7 assists. Young finished with 21 points, 10 rebounds. And they still have Kelsey Plum coming off the bench. Finished with 10 points, plus minus 20, 3 assists, 2 assists and 3 rebounds. 3 assists and 3 rebounds. But I think that Plum's going to end up starting over Young or Chelsea Gray, one of those two. I think Kelsey Plum will become the starter. But she did miss last year, so I think she's still recovering, moving back, getting back healthy from the injury she had. So I think within the next few games, Kelsey Plum will move back into that starting lineup. The Aces shot 40% from the three-point line, so that's very impressive. But Seattle Breonna Stewart finished with 26 points, 11 rebounds, and an assist. Only shot 10-21 from the field. She might be one of the best players in the league as well. Katie Lou Samuelson, one of the best shooters, one of the best bigs that can stretch the floor. Finished with 13 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. Sue Bird did not score, but had a plus-minus of 9. She had 5 assists. Jay Lloyd finished with 17 points, 3 steals, 3 assists, and 2 rebounds. Candace Dupree finished with 2 points. Not much production for Seattle coming off the bench, which might be a problem for them as they go deeper into the season. So these are just things I noticed throughout the WNBA, watching them last night. It's good to watch the WNBA because they are so efficient in their sets and their skill set is high, so high. And it's due to you can't rely on that. They can't rely on the athleticism. See, with probably men's basketball, I see a lot of cats just rely on their athleticism to score, get to the bucket, or whatever. But with the women's basketball, it's a lot of skill set. They're relying on the skill set. And so if you're as a student of the game, if you know that and you're watching it, you love it because when you see a player that has crafted their skill set and mastered their skill set, the game becomes so beautiful and efficient for them. So I love to watch it, love seeing it. But that's what I saw in the WNBA, guys. Guys, the 2021 Hall of Fame class, is that the greatest class of all time? Let's discuss that next in our final segment. So stick around, guys. You're not going to want to miss it.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Thank you for sticking with us. As we head into our final segment of the show, I just want to talk about, first, let's talk about what we discussed already earlier in the show. So if you missed it, we talked about the Eastern Conference Eastern Conference play-in tournament recap. We covered the Charlotte Hornets going up against the Indiana Pacers. Game wasn't close, but there was some positives I saw from Charlotte in terms of their youth. They are moving in the right direction. We also talked about the Wizards versus Boston Celtics. And obviously Jason Tatum had 50 points. That was the highlight of the game. But we also discussed the matchup between the Wizards and the Pacers. And I think the Wizards will win that game. And I think that they will move on and be the 8th seed. We also talked about, in the second segment, the Western Conference play-in tournament. We discussed my predictions. I have Memphis beating San Antonio, and I have the Lakers beating Golden State. And then I have Memphis beating Golden State in that second game. And then we talked about some WNBA matchups, some of the games we saw last night. And then we also discussed some of the best players in WNBA, i.e. Sabrina Ionescu, Brown Stewart, Chelsea Gray, Asia Wilson, and to go over a few more. But as we close out the show today, I want to discuss this last topic of the day. And that is the 2021 Hall of Fame class. As you guys know, the 2021 Hall of Fame class was recently announced a couple of days ago. Some key names that stick out to me are, Chris Webber, Bill Russell, just naming players. Ben Wallace, Chris Bosh, Lauren Jackson of the WNBA, and most popularly, Kobe Bryant. So people are asking, is this the best Hall of Fame class? And I think people are asking that because of the Kobe Bryant narrative and him recently passing. And that's playing a factor in all of this. But the best Hall of Fame class, I'm not sure I can say that. But this is a very good class. I mean, Chris Bosh is obviously first ballot Hall of Famer, as he should be. Ben Wallace. People don't know Ben Wallace is a 4-time Defensive Player of the Year. And also has a ring. Chris Webber, obviously, first ballot Hall of Famer. If Chris Webber would have played in this era, imagine Ben Simmons. That's what he would be like. 6'9", 6'10", with the handle that can get up and down the court. Chris Webber he had debilitating knees, which is why he wasn't able to last long in the league. Or long, relatively speaking, to guys that have played 20-plus years. And then Bill Russell as a coach. Bill Russell was the first person to win the NBA championship as a player and as a coach. Actually, after he retired, winning his last championship as a player, 5 years later he got into coaching and won a championship in his first year as a head coach. Yolanda Griffith, I forgot. Yes. Another WNBA player. A 7-time WNBA All-Star and 2-time Olympic gold medalist. And 7-time WNBA All-Star and 3-time WNBA MVP, Lauren Jackson. Lauren Jackson might be the best player to come out of Seattle to play for Seattle Storm. She was, imagine Breonna Stewart before Breonna Stewart got in the league. But Lauren Jackson was like the epitome of like a stretch center. She could hit it from outside. She had crafty footwork. She was light on her feet. Yeah, she was a stretch 5. But one Hall of Fame member that surprised me was Jay Wright, head coach of Villanova. At least getting selected so early is surprising to me. He has 1-2 championships at Villanova, but I think just how soon he got selected into the Hall of Fame, I guess, is what's surprising to me. But to say this is the best class, I wouldn't go that far. But then you start thinking, all right. So I do want to pose this question. So what if is Paul George a Hall of Famer if he was to retire today? Probably not. Is Tracy Mcgrady a Hall of Famer? You don't have to ask. He is. Grant Hill, yes, Hall of Famer. And there's one analyst that says, I think it was Skip Bayless. He said if he has to think twice, you're not in the Hall of Fame. Obviously, that's a little hyperbolic. Well, come from Skip, that might not be hyperbolic, but it's not that black and white. There's some gray area to it. You have to understand the era that player played in. Who were his teammates? Who did he play for? In terms of organization, how long did he play? Things like that. Not to bring football into this, but Calvin Johnson had a very short career but high impact. Never won a playoff game, but his numbers would indicate that he's the first ballot Hall of Famer. So are you going to hold the team that he played for and the lengthiness of his career or lack thereof? Are you going to hold that against him? I don't think so. And just like another one, Damian Lillard. If Damian Lillard was for some reason to retire today, is he a Hall of Famer? I don't know. That's one of those questionable ones. But from my experience and what I've seen, I do know that the Basketball Hall of Fame is slightly more lenient than the NFL Hall of Fame or Football Hall of Fame. I'm not exactly sure why, but I'm sure I can get some research done and get that into you guys. But yeah, I'm not sure. Paul Pierce is. I always question: is Paul Pierce a Hall of Famer? A lot of people don't know, but he's the all-time leading scorer in Celtics history, over Larry Bird and John Havlicek. Actually, Larry Bird, I think, is actually third on that list behind John Havlicek. So yeah, Paul Pierce is if Paul Pierce would have never won a championship, I'm not sure if he would be a Hall of Famer though. But the championship, winning a championship can do a lot for you for your Hall of Fame resume. But so yeah, this was a very, very stout Hall of Fame class. But yeah, not sure if it's the greatest ever. The 2018 class was pretty good. The 2019 class was pretty good as well. And then obviously Kobe Bryant, there's nothing to discuss there. First ballot Hall of Famer, not even close. But yeah. Yeah, man, yeah. But yeah, all right, guys. That's all we have on the show for today. Great show. Talked about a lot. On the next show, we will be giving our predictions for the first round of the NBA playoffs. So be sure to stick around for that. Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Basketball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. Guys, we'll be back again later in the week. Continue to stay safe, guys. Make smart decisions. And until next time, peace.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.